Okay, so apologies if I'm a bit sniffy. I have had a sneezing cough and I'm on the mend, but I'm still a bit tricky in the throat and a bit bunged up in the nose. But today is the day the sun transitions from the days of the older tree into the days of the willow tree. It's a lovely part of the year, nicknamed the water's edge, because out of the 20 trees of the Ogham, two side by side, the older tree and the willow tree, are trees that love the riverside. So it fits in with the sun's ecliptic of what's called the wet side of the zodiac wheel. That is, Capricorn has a fish's tail, Aquarius is pouring the water, and then Pisces, the fish, are swimming in the water. So this area of the circle of the zodiac is known as wet, and we have the water-loving trees, alder and willow. So there's some nice poetry there, whether it's deliberate or not, who knows, but it's certainly there to ponder. But we're not looking at the willow tree in too much detail today. We've done that over the last 3 years. So if you want basic lore of the willow tree, look for Willow Tree 2022. If you want herbal medicine of the willow tree, look for Willow Tree 2023. And last year, we looked at gods and goddesses to do with each tree. So for the willow tree, primarily, that was the 9 muses, and I will come back to them shortly. So today we enter the days of willow, and we're here for 18 days or so until the 11th of March, and then we enter the days of the ash tree. So I'm just going to bring up a PowerPoint presentation. It's not going to be a long one, but I've got a few pictures to show you what we're talking about today. Okay. So as I just quickly mentioned, the willow tree has a whole load of lore to do with the 9 muses of the classical world, Greek poetic inspiration. And we looked at that in a lot of detail last year. So like I say, go to Willow Tree 2024 to see about the 9 muses and also the constellation of Pegasus, the horse, and the river, the source of the river from Mount Helicon, which is the abode of the willow trees, is the source of poetic inspiration. And these ideas weren't lost on the Welsh and Irish poets and bards. They understood this classical bardic lore, if you like. In the Welsh tradition, in the writings of Taliesin, the 9 maidens get mentioned in regards to the cauldron of Annwn, which I would argue is your middle cauldron. It's your inner kingdom, which is relevant to what we're talking about, and it's your inner world, really. It's your world of dreams and visions, and it's an endless source of poetic inspiration that bubbles up from your lower cauldron into your middle cauldron, and then gives you a radiant brow in your upper cauldron. You know, the 3 cauldrons are all connected in this way. But from the bird's eye view, looking down on the 3 cauldrons, it can look like one cauldron as well, you know. Anyway, what we're doing this year is we're looking at different Grove cards from the Ogham Grove Oracle deck, which is coming in the next few weeks. It's nearly ready for publishing. And of those 56 cards, 16 of them are called Grove cards, and they're to do with esoteric and occult ideas that you can do in the center of your Ogham Grove. So this isn't really for beginners, and I appreciate that. These are quite esoteric concepts and so on. And that's also why, since January, I've started a new series on the YouTube channel of Owen for beginners, so that there is a framework there for basic introductory stuff for the Owen. So I apologize to beginners that what we're going to talk about for the next half hour or so is a bit more complicated, a bit more esoteric and stuff. But they're fascinating ideas nonetheless. Now, the topic for today then is the Grove card, Anima Mundi. And I'll explain that as we go along. Anima Mundi is just Latin for soul of the world, or the world soul, which will make some sense. It doesn't particularly make sense with the willow tree in favor of any other tree. And none of the Grove cards would, because all of the Grove cards are ideas to do with the center of your grove, not the circumference of the grove. So the circumference is the 20 trees and that time of year. So right now the sun is going from the older tree to the willow tree and we're at the water's edge. But you could work with any of the 16 Grove cards at any time of the year, just like the circumpolar stars are ever present above the grove, sort of thing. So the reason I've put Anima Mundi here is to talk about the muse. And the muse, really, really important for all of us, because in the history of literature, for the most part, it's dominated by male writers. So the muse is often a female ideal to a male artist or writer or poet. But it's everybody's heart's desire. It can be a lord or a lady. It's your dream lover. It's your secret lover. There's lots of phrases for it, but it's your perfect, ideal heart's desire inside of you, and it will appear in your dreams and shake your world up, and that's its job, really. In the Arthurian romances, there's Kundry as a muse to Percival. Sometimes she's stunningly beautiful and will attract him down a pathway. At other times, she is deliberately horrendous and horrible, and that's to kick him up the bum and make him do something as well, But it's this interaction with the other world or your dream world through a personification that is the Tinkerbell to you being Peter Pan. It's your soulmate, really, but in the inner world. So lord or lady, depending on your romantic preference, it doesn't matter. But the muse then. So here's, before we move on, the Nine Maidens are the 9 muses. The 9 muses are the daughters of the goddess of memory. Now, all that you are is your memories. However you evaluate yourself, your thoughts about yourself, your philosophy, it's all held by your memory, and you can't get away from that. So that is personified by 9 different aspects, if you like. You could have a triple goddess in the upper cauldron, triple goddess in the middle, triple goddess in the lower. They're your 9 maidens. And in the Taliesin poems, the 9 maidens keep warm the cauldron of the inner world, the cauldron of Anuin, So there is some sort of evidence looking at the mysteries of the Owen Grove that it's hinting at an ancient mystery school, rite of passage, training, maybe bardic in origin. And looking at the old mysteries, one of the main ones from the Oracle of Delphi in Greece was know thyself. Simple as that. You don't know anything if you don't know thyself. And to know thyself, you have to work with the memories. And that's these 9 maidens. That's that voice inside of you, talking to you, whispering to you, telling you you're being an idiot, patting you on the back. You know, it's that inner voice. So however you want to personify it, in whichever way it makes sense to you. Here's a thing then. So this is looking at the center of the grove. Now, on the right-hand side, there's a statue here of Brigantia. She's the Brythonic variant of Brigid from northern Britain. And in the bottom left-hand corner at the base of her spear, there's a stone. And this stone is called an omphalos. An omphalos represents the heart stone or the heart center, the belly button, the center point of a territory or a landscape or country even. So, you know, the Druids used to gather at the center of Gaul every year. So they'd have gone to the center point, you know, so there's that magic significance of the center point. And that center point is the center of your grove, center of your middle cauldron. So that's the center of your kingdom. You know, so whatever you do in the center of your grove corresponds with this esoteric idea of the center stone, which aligns through the vertical axis of the spear to the center of the stars. So pole star, you know, the circumpolar stars that are ever above the center of the grove. So the seasonal stars like the zodiac come and go, but the circumpolar stars are always there. And the goddess or the muse or the Anima Mundi is always there at the center of your grove, you know, played out in some areas as Brigid. And on the left-hand side is artwork I've done for the forthcoming volume 6 of the Grove. And this represents Irish goddess of sovereignty, Maeve, M-E-D-B, Maeve. But the stone behind her is the Lias Fail or Stone of Destiny, of which there's still a Stone of Destiny at the Hill of Tara in the center of Ireland. I've used artistic license and given it spirals to make it more like Newgrange. But the point is, it's the goddess of sovereignty at the center stone, same as Brigantia's statue here on the right-hand side from northern Britain. So there's that divine feminine goddess of sovereignty at the center of a kingdom, center of a landmass. And any would-be high king of Ireland had to marry Maeve at the Hill of Tara at the Stone of Destiny stuff. So this stone at the center point concept is what I'm trying to get into everybody, that in your middle cauldron, there is your center point. And whatever you choose to do esoterically in your own grove, there has to be an alchemical marriage. There has to be a sacred union between you and your muse, lord or lady, doesn't matter. But your muse, you make that connection of love, of union with your inner world, you know, so that you're walking around in this outer world, mundane world, dealing with all of its issues, but internally, your other half is there in the center of your grove, working with you from the inner world as well. You know, your Tinkerbell, your Pan, you know, your Oberon or Titania. It doesn't matter. You know, it's that secret dream lover. Now, here's a thing then. So on the left-hand side is Ireland, and Ireland has 4 main provinces, Ulster, Leinster, Connaught and Munster. But roughly in the middle of them is County Meath. And Meath literally means middle. And Meath is where the Hill of Tara is. So the kings of Ireland would marry Maeve, the goddess of Ireland, at the center point. You know, there was that kind of center of the land idea with the standing stone, the Lias Fail, the Stone of Destiny. And that corresponded with the 5 guardian trees. So for Meath, you had the 3 ash trees, and for Leinster, there were the 2 yew trees. But ash, spring equinox, the end of the first ACMA, was the tree of kingship and was held at the heart center of the land. With all mystery traditions, the external landscape is also your internal landscape. You know, there's sympathetic magic. So working with your inner kingdom, your middle cauldron, you take these inspirations from the outer world and how that was worked with as a sacred land. On the right-hand side is Wales. And, you know, it's less obvious, it's less documented, but it's still there. In the Mabinogion story, The Dream of Max and Lledeg, the goddess Ellen, who becomes Empress of Rome in that story, has the Emperor of Rome build her 3 cities or towns, Roman cities, and they are what we call today Caerleon, Carmarthen, and Carnarvon. Those 3 places make a triangle, and the exact geometric center of that triangle is the heart of Wales, called Ellenith, which means Ellen's land. So Ellen is a sovereignty queen, and the center of Wales is Ellenith, Ellen's land. She's there at the heart center. You know, there's no iconography of Ellen with an omphalos stone, but she's there at the center point, just like Maeve is there at the center of Ireland with the Hill of Tara. So here's the thing: when we were putting the oracle deck together, 2 things manifested at the same time. One of them was that the final card in the tarot, the final major arcana, the 21st one, because the Fool gets 0, so the 22 cards finish with 21, the World. And the World traditionally depicts a figure inside a wreath, a victory wreath, and in each corner are the 4 heavenly creatures: Leo the lion, Taurus the bull, Aquarius the man, and the eagle substitutes Scorpio, because a winged scorpion doesn't look good in any manuscript. You know, it's kind of weird. So they used the nearby constellation of Aquila the eagle, and that was adopted by the church with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and so on. But it's what we call the royal star cross. It's just Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio is what it is, really. So they're the 4 quarters or the 4 corners of the World tarot card. Now, on the right-hand side is the Ogham Grove, and in each corner is Beltane, Taurus, Lunacy, Leo, Scorpio, Samhain, and Aquarius, Imbolc. So the 4 heavenly creatures are also the fire festivals of Imbolc, Beltane, Lunacy, and Samhain. So a circle of foliage is the Ogham Grove, just like the Victory Reef in the World. And it has the 4 heavenly creatures in each corner, just like the World. And then what was discovered last year was that following the summer solstice, so the first tree after the solstice is the vine, is the first tree of the 3rd Akma. But following the summer solstice, the first letter of each Akma spells M-A-B-H. And that is just mad. That is insane, because M-A-B-H is a variant of Maeve, the sovereignty queen at the Hill of Tara in the center of Ireland. So, you know, the Ogham Grove looks like the World Tarot card, and it has the sovereignty queen, her name concealed in the first letter of each Akma. You know, so eventually Maeve, by the time you get to the 1600s or 1500s, even like Elizabethan or Shakespearean English, becomes Queen Mab, Queen of the Fairies. You know, that so Christianity has taken this pagan goddess of the land, sovereignty, and turned her into a tiny little, small as your thumbnail, Queen of the Fairies or what have you, you know. But the Queen of the Fairies origins are the sovereignty goddess of the center of any Celtic kingdom. That's quite a big deal. really, you know. However you want to work with that is up to you then. So this is the final image for the Oracle deck. I didn't want to do a lion and a bull and a eagle and all of that, make it too tarot-y. It is just the Ogham Grove, and in the corners I've put some roses. You know, that the she is the queen of every hive, and the rose holds that Venus kind of connection. Now, in a way, regardless of being male or female, having testosterone or estrogen, at our very core, we're almost just spinal cords and pineal glands. And there is an idea that at the very center of our brain, our pineal gland is like the office. That's the headquarters, you know, that's it. That's where you're interacting with all of your memory. The Nine Maidens, all of your memory is going around to this pineal gland, and the pineal gland is receiving all of the ideas. And maybe your heart, mind, middle cauldron is having a dialogue with your muse. And so your muse becomes your first point of contact with the inner world. And the word for the consciousness of everything on planet Earth is Anima Mundi, the soul of the world. And so your first point of contact with the soul of the world is your muse. So that's what this card is representing. So I'll shut down the PowerPoint and we can talk for a while about the nature of the muse, the self, and how you would work with that maybe in meditations in your inner grove. So you can put your hand up or put your microphone on. None of the grove cards are going to make sense to the circumference because they're all to do with the center point. So when to look at them, that's the enigma of this year, really. I chose now for the muse because of the 9 muses.
I'll just say briefly, Bridget is the goddess for me of inspiration, and interesting that the Brigantia statues and things that you presented to us today fit with that and this idea of the muse and the Anima Mundi. And you've told us you felt Bridget is the goddess for the Aquarian age, so kind of right on time with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You didn't mention, sorry, yeah, you didn't mention Ushnach by name, but that, in my mind, must equate to Ellenith in Wales. Is Ushnach the heart centre, the goddess centre of Ireland? Do you know of it as such, Yuri?
I'm aware of it, but I don't know a great deal about it, which is why I haven't said much about it. I know it's a centre of Ireland contender with the Hill of Tara, but I don't know any of its mythology, whereas I've learned a fair bit about Maeve Leddurg, the sovereignty goddess of the Hill of Tara. So that's kind of been on my radar. Usnik, I don't know enough about yet.
I'd recommend sniffing around that, as in, I think there's a wealth of more of this sort of esoteric knowledge to be stitched together again. It's there, but it's remembering. Yeah.
A friend of mine called Gary Biltcliffe and his partner Caroline Hoare, they did a book called Power of Centre, and it looks at the whole of the British Isles, England and Wales and Scotland and Ireland, and there's center points all over the place, you know, because there's different tribal territories and things. So they look at the overall center roughly being the Isle of Man for the whole of the British Isles, but they do look at North Island and Southern Island and West Island and look at different power centers for tribal territories and stuff. So I don't know if the Hill of Tara is more central for Ulster and Leinster, whereas Usnich might be more central for the entirety of Ireland as a country.
Exactly that. Yeah. That's my take. Yeah.
But I don't know any mythology, god or goddesses about Usnich. Do you?
I mean, I've been fortunate. I was there last year. They have a Beltane ceremony at Uisneach, a fire festival, and I was honoured. I was part of the drumming team for the Cailleach, and they have. It's grown over the last few years. There's a lot of. I mean, my memory isn't as precise as yours. I work more sort of fuzzy, but there's a really profound sense that everything came together there. And there's a really special cave, and there's a crossing point, and the whole place is really magical. It's not very large. It's kind of it is the heart. It's the heart of Ireland of Éire. Yeah. Anyway.
No, thank you. Yeah, I don't know everything. You know, I've just I've illustrated the things I've found. You know,
don't.
Wonderfully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is just really amazing because it was like a cool. So last year, this being appeared in the center of my grove, but I didn't know what to call her. But she very much functions like the muse. She lives in the grove, and then when I go there, she'll kind of like merge with me, and we'll go on journeys. And one of the first journeys that I went on with her was one where she went through we went through my entire past, and she sort of knit together memories and like healed different spots of pain and trauma. And
Wow.
So that's super cool. It's like, oh, she's the muse. She's kind of like another version of myself, which but yeah, I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, now I know what she's functioning as.
I think that's really important, that the muse, you know, what's the psychological phrases like anima or animus or something, but there's you in the mundane world, running around like a headless chicken, worried and frightened and stressing and everything, but there's an eternal part of you which could be your muse, that it's ever present, always timeless, and it's there working with you as the voice within, you know. Yeah.
It's the ultimate voice of reason.
Yeah.
To protect you.
And often will appear in our dreams in a way that is going to trigger us romantically or sexually or whatever, but usually by being the opposite gender or the gender you desire, because that's going to trigger you in your dreams and stuff, you know. And one theory is that your dream lover, even if you dream of 10 different people in 10 different dreams, they're all the dream lover wearing different masks to motivate you. That it is just your voice within role playing to trigger you or make you think things.
Is it weird if it's my dream lovers myself, kind of?
No,
If there's one
I don't
universe,
think so.
that's true, isn't it, as well? Mana.
I would also say
Yeah.
that, well, within the dreams, you can be you can shapeshift, can't you? So sometimes you can be female, other times you can be male.
Yeah.
And so your dream lover can also shapeshift.
And
So
that's
not necessarily fluid.
Yeah. That's how Kundry is with Percival, definitely. You know, she shapes. I often think that if you were discarnate, you were an invisible spirit, and there was a child in the garden, and you were going to manifest to a child, you could make yourself small and friendly, or you could make yourself big and scary so they don't fall in the nettles. You know, you could shapeshift for many motivations, couldn't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Does Robert Redford count?
Your heart's desire is
he keeps showing up.
You know, whatever is your heart's desire, that's your compass, and you have to trust that as well.
Yeah, that's in the center, isn't it? That's in the center of this divine feminine of the left and the divine masculine of the right. And that is what we're all trying to get into balance now with, isn't it?
Yeah.
This landscape is like that. It's a real, it's drenched in Arthur stories, and, gradually the Guinevere story is emerging as well, which is lovely now.
That's another thing in the Welsh triads. There are the three queens of King Arthur, and all three are called Guinevere. So he's a triple goddess, really, for Wales.
Yeah.
Because I suppose would that also then be, if you have the muse, isn't there the Damien?
Damien?
Damien, isn't that in Jung? Isn't that the sort of...
the daemon, I think.
Daemon.
That's it. Yes,
Daemon,
which is a kind of male muse, isn't it? If I'm right. Yeah.
I think with Thelema and the Western magical tradition, they have this idea of making a connection with your holy guardian angel. And I would say that's the same thing, really. Your first point of contact, or your best friend on the other side. They're there, and this is overly romantic, but I work with mine, and I genuinely believe that when I die, she'll be there waiting. That they're kind of holding our hands through life in a way, and they lead us to the people and the situations we're meant to get involved in a way, just like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Yuri, because my second daughter always had this Roman soldier that she said looked after her. And the other day I asked her, and she's 60 now, and she said, "Oh yes, he's still there."
Wonderful.
I think Mana has her hand up.
Mana?
I just want, you're talking about the Stone of Destiny, and I want to share, and this is more the way I work, my poetic way, it is the muse, but here's a short poem that I turned into a song. It relates to what you're talking about. I wonder if that will come through. It's very simple, short. Behind me, my ancestry. Before me, my destiny. Within me, integrity to guide my way on, to bring me back home. Now, what that's saying for me, it's that integrity there is the muse is in there as the guiding principle of integrity and intuition, to bring me into alignment between ancestry and destiny, and fulfill my destiny. Anyway, I don't know if it relates. There's something in there for me about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Here's another kind of out of the box, backward way of looking at things. Like if you were interested in druidry or poetic inspiration, and therefore you have to work with your inner world, how could you do that without trusting an intelligence inside the inner world?
Yeah.
No, there has to be a personification of that kingdom, doesn't there? There has to be.
Whenever I go into my grove, there's always been from the very start this almost a Stone Age chap with the antlers and everything, and he's always sat by his fire. He's always there, and we mainly just sit together and have a drink and just talk. And it's almost like having your own little therapist to go off and speak to. He's like my little sidekick, and he's a very good listener and says things when he needs to, but it's mainly me just chatting away to him and probably talking utter nonsense, but he's a great listener. And yeah, that's I wouldn't say I'm particularly attracted to him, but he's always there. He's always there. So he's my otherworld chap.
Here's a little confession: is my muse often tells me off. who's always got my best interest at heart, but I don't always listen. And when I'm making a little prayer, I often say to her, help me hear your yes and your no. And then I say, tolerate me, love me, because I don't always agree with the yes or the no. And usually she was right and I was wrong,
Yeah, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
And that's
you can hear your voice within, but still go off down the wrong track,
That's just it. It's getting the balance, isn't it? It's that mind that's here all the time, and then it's the other part of you that you should be listening to a lot more, but
yeah,
don't.
Some months ago, I don't know, I was wondering what that voice was, and it's not schizophrenia. I wasn't like, what's the voice telling me? But it's the muse, and I just put it together here, so thank you. But yeah, I was, really questioning who is that tells me to turn right instead of left. I'm saying symbolically. Who offers ideas, who offers comfort. I was like, who is that? It's could it be the voice of recovery? Could it be, I was like, I don't know. They usually tell me some really good things that wouldn't normally come from my mind. It's just this voice, not necessarily a voice, but it's just guidance. But it's really discreet. So it's my muse. So I just wanted to relate. Thank you for helping me find that out.
Something I've become aware of over the years is that there's so many aspects of self. Most simplistically, you can have an argument in your head. Like part of you is saying, what about this? And another part of you is saying, no, 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 what about this? But there's a third part of you watching the argument. So you're kind of at least three intelligences there. There's two sides of the argument and the observer of the argument. And in my experience, my muse is outside of that. She'll kind of say something to the observer about the argument, Yeah, with many people inside.
First, second, and third person.
Do you think that's something to do with the triple goddess and the three brothers of Bridget, aren't there as well? They're the three in one.
Yeah.
So that takes a bit of unraveling, really, but it's interesting.
I quite like, on the one hand, like with Ireland or even Guinevere, a sovereignty goddess can be threefold. If each of your cauldrons is a kingdom, then you've got a triple goddess in each cauldron, so that's 9. That's 9 maidens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
But equally, they could compress into one overall kingdom with a triple goddess, or just you and your muse. So I kind of think of all of those ideas are morphing and changing in my brain all the time. But I wonder if Celtic culture or bardic, poetic culture was throwing those ideas or insights out there, really. Because mythology and mysteries are to help people grasp esoteric concepts, aren't they? They are out of the box.
It's interesting for me that just bringing it back to Willow. Willow is very much of the water. I mean, it reminded me. I lived in a yurt in the Willows, literally for several years, and now I've got willows and alder right down by the stream at the bottom of the garden. But the point is, Willow is feelings, intuition. It's what's in the water, isn't it? And it's this. I am water. We are water, and that muse there's a deep relationship to that indefinable, untenable, but very present mystery of the muse. And it's in us all. It's connecting with it and listening. Not so easy as you've alluded to. Not always easy. Sorry, go on.
Where the word museum comes from. you know, to muse upon something.
Yes.
You know, you can't make poetry or music or write stories or do artwork without music.
Pondering thoughtfully, yes.
Yeah. Mana.
Well, I think
And
a museum is the house of the muses, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that you know, my temple is the Temple of the Muse. And the reason why I chose the Temple of the Muse to do my teaching, my school's a different name, but the reason why I did that was because I've always felt everybody has their different direction as to how they create and manifest, whether it's magic or whatever you want to call it, how you invoke the divine. And for me, I always felt like that the muse was one who inspires. It's not one who tells someone exactly who they are and what they need to do. It somehow craftfully presents some situation. It's almost like a good person, that a good horse person doesn't make a horse do what it doesn't want to do. It points it in the direction so that it goes, oh, this is the best way to go. So if you think about that, you think about how the muse inspires, and you think about Bridget and divine inspiration, and you think about water, the water's edge, and fire, and water and fire coming together, it brings this perspiration, I guess, or this inspiration.
Sacred myth.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just wanted to put that in there.
Okay. I was just thinking that I think that I can think of two main reasons why you would go into the inner sanctuary of your inner Rowan Grove. And the two main reasons would be, one, for just peace and sanctuary, peace of mind. And the other one would be what Mana just said, looking for inspiration. So they're the reasons for me why I would go into my grove, either for sanctuary or looking for inspiration.
Same here, yeah.
So the embrace with the muse, metaphorically, is both of those. You know, it's being held by someone who loves you, and it's also having some wise words from someone you trust.
Yeah.
For me,
and I think it's it's almost a triad there, because there's also an acknowledgement of self, and the protection of self is there, and you know your muse would never steer you wrong.
Right.
Yes, for me, because I was, you know, when I was 3 days old, I was given the name of one of the muses, which would be Thalia or Talia. It's like I'm living within this entity, which actually isn't necessary, doesn't always have a form, but it's always guiding me. But it's almost like it flows, because every time somebody speaks my name, it's like they're invoking the muse.
That's cool.
So it becomes something that's like, it's almost like a wind that's always there, and you're sort of moving through it, and it sort of kind of definitely gives you sort of guidance of where to go. But for example, because it's Talia is the muse of comedy, time and time again I've had that experience, especially when I was young. If I was told off and somebody called me by my name, very quickly they would end up laughing. Because they invoke the spirit of laughter.
That's because you're a muse. Ha ha. A muse.
A muse.
Little fun there.
So I think of my inner lover as something slightly different, because I can actually get a sense of that. Whereas actually the sort of is, having been given that name, it's always there. Sort of, yes. Yeah. Like being inside of it, yeah.
Wow.
But that alludes to there's something about calling on the muses, something about invoking them and calling them in, that creates the potential and the right culture for them to enter in and manifest. I mean, I'm just reminded, we're talking about inspiration. My latter life charm of making, I call it, is to inspire as I expire, to inspire as I expire, and that's kind of my life these days. But calling it in, much as you were talking about, Talia, you've got the muse not so much as your fingertips, but in your heart and available to you, and it's something about calling it in. I'm rabbiting as well, like several of us are.
Right.
Well, I love the inspiring as you expire. I think that's wonderful.
Way to go.
With things like yoga and Tai Chi, they use breath for prana or chi, as a kind of metaphor for that energy. And so back to the Taliesque poem, the nine muses keep the cauldron of Anun, the inner world, warm with their breath. That there's something in their life force of the daughters of memory that keep the inner cauldron simmering away.
I think it's really interesting, Yuri, because that's the breath of Brahma, which created all things in a sense, with that the sort of breath went out and everything was born and multiplied. And how, I'm not sure how this connects, but there are 12 great Shiva lingams in India, and the ninth one, there's a story of the Daksha Trajapati, who had 27 daughters given to the moon god Chandran. So it's sort of weaving with that moon dreaming sort of world as well. And of course, there's 27 days, moon days, isn't there, in the 13-month year?
Sidereal lunation.
27 is 3 times 9.
Yeah, 3 times 3 times 3.
Yeah. And then doesn't that build into the 108?
Yes, exactly, which is the magic number.
We got to stop because we got to do our meditation. So I'll stop recording and put your microphones off, and we'll meditate to the willow tree and the Nine Maidens.